We're coming towards the end of Numbers chapter 11, and it's a meditation on our deceitful desires. That's been what's going on in Numbers 11, the grumbling, because the deceitful desires are not being satisfied, the problem of mentoring new Christians, and if we haven't learned to say no to them, we can't pass that on, and how the alternative is to be filled with the Spirit and declaring the word of God to one another. And then at the end, the Lord does this strange thing where he gives them an excess of what they desired. They wanted meat, so he gives them just an impossibly large amount of it. It says here, like a great depth of this meat is available for them. And what would they do with that opportunity? And what they did was they completely indulged those desires. And it says they stayed up that day all night and all the next day, gathering up this meat, this quail, and then they gathered a huge amount and then started to just eat it. So he's testing them. He tested them with hunger to find out what was in their heart, and now he flips it around and tests them with an excessive provision. And says, okay, we've seen what's in your heart when you're hungry, but what if I set before you a huge excess of this thing that you crave? Would they go, now I see it for what it is, all these dead bodies, really? Because that's what the quail is. There's just this huge depth of dead bodies for them to eat. Would they, in a way, say, oh wow, in craving all this meat, in a way I'm just craving death? Because the Lord blows in this enormous quantity of birds who are all, brought there to die so they could eat them. And would the sight of this quantity of death make them think, now then, if I'm seeking life in what is essentially death and decay, maybe I need to think again about what it is that I'm craving. If I'm craving things that do not last, that are decaying, that can't be right. I've got to learn to say no to that. I've got to learn to say yes to the ever-living one who gives me eternal life. But that isn't what happened, and they just threw themselves into and just utterly gave their hearts and minds and very souls to eating meat. And then even as it was in their teeth, the anger of the Lord was aroused, and he sent a very great plague upon them, and they died. And so the place was just called graves of craving, because so many people died there, because it says they'd yielded to cravings. And can we see that sort of equation? He put before them death, they craved it, and then the anger of the Lord made them die, as if to quickly demonstrate, if your cravings are set essentially on the things of this life, this present passing age, where everything decays and dies, you decay and die. You yourself are destined for just nothing but death, now and forever. And so he manifested it before them by causing many to die. And so that it was as if that in the naming of it, graves of craving. They could understand what had happened, that in giving themselves to craving, they were giving themselves to death. It's a very deep challenge for us because we do it. And it may not just be meat and food that we do it for. There's many other things where we give ourselves to entertainment that has no purpose, no future. It's barren. It just uses up time. It just wastes time. It doesn't really refresh us or enrich us or improve us or give us a bigger vision of Christ or more love for people. It doesn't do anything for us. It just steals time and life from us. That's another form that we're, graves of craving. This is a deep challenge to us. Are we like them? I mean, often when we read these things, we can say, oh, well, what fools they were. I never do that, really. I always think how easy it is to give your heart to death.